Okay, so last video we went through, sketched out our eye, added in any indication of super light areas and super dark areas, and then we just filled in the pupil part of the eye. So this part right now for this video is we're going to complete adding in the details of the iris, or like the colored part of the eye. So to start that, I'm going to create a line right here, and it probably would have been easier to sketch this in as a pencil line first, but that's okay. So I'm just going to bring a line here, curve it down. It's thicker on the left side, thinner on the right side. And I'm just going to outline where that's going to be. And as you're working, don't be afraid to move your paper around. You're definitely not going to want to drag your hand all over this, so if you need a spare piece of paper, that might be a good idea too, something to set your hand on so you don't smudge things. So I'm going to go around the eye as well and outline, so we have a really dark, kind of heavy outline. I'm going to color in this top part with the compressed pencil. If you would prefer to use the compressed charcoal stick, you can. I just feel like I have a little bit more control, especially with this area of the eye, using the compressed pencil. Okay, so now we have that area all colored in. I'm going to smooth out this line just a little bit. Now I'm going to start adding in little dashes on the edges. And you just want these to be, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. You just want these to start on the outside where it's dark and fade into the inside. So this is more of like a flicking action, not like a very stark line. You want this to be kind of flowy. So kind of make sure you have your wrist down onto the paper and you're just flicking the pencil out, just from that darker area. I'm also going to outline these lines that we made up here. And then I'm going to color in this space here. This is going to be a really dark shadow that we're going to be adding in. Okay, so now comes a lot of blending. I'm just going to go around the outside, blend that all out. And then I'm going to also go over top of these areas here and just flick the color out. So I'm just going to go through and blend this all very quickly. So now I've gone through to all of my dark areas and blended that out using my blending stump. Now what we're going to be doing is adding in a couple other dark indicators here. Now we left a little bit of a starburst here, and that's probably not the correct term for this, but it makes me think of the candy, but I call it like the starburst of the eye because that's like the really colorful cute part in the middle. So I'm going to just go over to that line. And hopefully your lines, with you flicking them out, they should be darker on the outside and kind of naturally lighter on the inside. So it's going to highlight this area a little bit more. So I'm just going to create like a very simple jagged line and just indications of it over here. And then the same thing that we did for the outside, I'm just going to just slightly blend this in. And I'm going to try to kind of flick it towards the pupil, so then that way it starts dark at that outside area, becomes a lot lighter. so it still kind of brings an emphasis to the center of the eye. So I'm just filling this in. And then you could go in right after this is done and just kind of darken some spots. Once you blend it out, I always have the tendency to keep going back and just making sure that some areas still look pretty dark. So I'll probably do a second round here. I'm also going to fill in this area in between the starburst and my highlight. The highlight's going to come into play here in just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm just going to double go over some of these lines just to really darken them up. And you could either keep them like that. I might kind of flick them in towards the center a little. Just the very slightest amount. And then you could keep them like this, or you could blend it out one more time. I'm probably just going to, because I could see the texture of it, I'm just going to lightly blend, just so then that way that texture goes away. Okay, so I'm way more happy with that. The outside of the eye, you're just going to pick a couple areas, and basically how we started the sunburst with that like kind of dark riggedy line, we're going to do the same thing on the outside. So you're just going to pick some random marks here, and I'm just going to draw kind of a jaggedy line towards the top of them. And of course we'll go through, blend this out too. Don't overdo this part. You don't need these little jaggedy lines everywhere. It's just going to make that inside look so much more bright. So I'm going to add a couple over here and a little bit over here. And one up here. Okay. So I'm just going through using the blending stump, flicking out towards the dark line, not towards the pupil now. We're just going to blend this out. And then again, if you wanted to do a second layer here just to really darken some areas, this time you don't have to blend it. I really love charcoal because of the range of value you can get with this is really beautiful. You get some really punchy lights and darks with it, so that's kind of one of my favorite parts about it. It can be a lot to control at times, but it'll be okay. Alright, so now we have all of our areas done. If there's any places you want to touch up, now would be the time to do that. I'm going to go in and start adding in some highlights. And this is the time that people normally like really love doing this. Don't overdo it though with the white charcoal. I'm just going to kind of start in this area, flick out some color into these like darker areas. So I'm just going to add in some highlights randomly. Maybe brighten it up over here because there's so much dark going on. And then I'm also going to be coloring in up here a little bit and adding some eyelashes. Now when you're adding in the eyelashes, I'm going to erase these lines here. When you're adding in the eyelashes, think of a beach ball. The eyelashes on this side are going to be curling in this way. The eyelashes on this side are going to be curling in this way. The ones in the center will be kind of straight, but if they're towards the left, you're going to curl them towards the right. If they're on the right, you're going to curl them towards the left. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick time lapse here and add in the rest of my highlights, add in my eyelashes, and finish the white areas up in this reflection.